Hello, viewers and listeners, and welcome to SuppTalk Radio. This is a special edition where I, Jason Moore from Hustle Supps and Arena Supplements, are going to interview Sean Shantz from SuppTalk Radio. Sean, welcome to the show.
Jason, it's definitely interesting, Jason. Thank you so much for actually offering and asking to interview me. This is a first. It'll be very interesting. For listeners that know the show, my guests always get a very loose outline, but to kind of share, Jason has not given me an outline. So I'm flying totally blind, but you'll obviously get the real me.
All right, awesome. Well, let me just see here. Now, is your last name pronounced Shantz, or do you go the hoity-toity version of Shantz?
No, it depends on who's asking. In New York, it's Shantz. And if you go down south, it could be Shantz, or maybe England Shantz. But it's Shantz. The New York way is Shantz.
All right. Well, could you tell us a little bit about your background? Just maybe like growing up, how you got into fitness or supplements, that kind of stuff.
Sure. So again, it's very interesting to now share my story, and I appreciate it. So I'm born and bred in New York, born in Queens, and lived in Suffolk County, Long Island. As I got older, I was the typical, 5'8", 138-pound scrawny kid. Always picked up the magazines, the flexes, and the muscular developments, and Muscle and Fitness when Muscle and Fitness was a little bit more hardcore, I guess, not as kind of fluffy as it morphed into 20 years later. So I just had a friend that said, "Listen, let's join a gym." He was almost in the same boat. He was a little bit the opposite. He was a thick soccer player and wanted to work on his cardio, get a little bit more, a little bit more in shape as well, where I was trying to put on weight.
Okay.
So, joined a gym and, just started kind of, and the rest was history. 17 years old in the gym. I don't know what the heck I'm doing. My form is terrible. No one's bothering me. I would say in the first 3 months, I probably put on 15 pounds of just natural weight because, body was just, didn't know what to do, just absorbed it.
Sure.
So I started diving into supplements just a little bit through the magazines. Very first supplement I took was Twin Labs amino tablets. There were these protein tablets that were probably, 2 inches long. If anybody knows what I'm talking about.
I do.
So it was, I don't know what it was. A serving was probably 8 or 10.
Yeah.
It's like, can you get them down? So here I am, as stupid as can be. I decided just to chew them. And it was terrible because I had braces at the time.
Oh.
So it was like stuck in the braces, but I figured, what's the difference if I swallow them or I chew them? They're still going to make it down to my stomach and break out into my body.
Yes, it's true, I guess. Maybe some sublingual.
Yeah. And I'd probably say the second, again, being so scrawny, the second supplement, and I remember this, was Twin Labs Heavyweight Gainer 2500, which was like an 8-pound tub. And just with water and like 8 scoops, it was 2,500 calories in one shake.
Oh.
And I would literally do 2 of those a day. But as I ate more, my metabolism got faster. So it was just like, when you're 17 and you're slim, your metabolism is just crazy. I would eat more, abs still be in place. But anyway, I'm kind of digressing.
So, do you have like a current job also, or do you do this full time, or what do you do like on a day-to-day basis?
Yep. So I'm still in the overall health industry. So I'm a human resource consultant.
Oh.
And I've worked in the life sciences industry, pharmaceutical, medical device, and biotech over the last 20 years.
Wow.
So as of 2 years ago, I became a full-time employee with a cancer company that helps people with liver cancer.
Wow. Awesome.
So SuppTalk, fitness, everything else is my side passion. As people know, I don't make a dime out of this. I do it because I love the industry. But my day job is a human resource professional.
Nice. So how did you get started into podcasting? Like, did you already know about it, or did you just research it until you found out how to do it and then?
Yeah. So no, I started the show back in 2013. People are going to dispute this, but I was one of the first people to do a podcast more about supplements and interviewing supplement companies. There was health and fitness podcasts. There was, diet and exercise, but there was nobody really diving into the supplement industry.
Wow, nice.
So I had basically no money to put into it. So I did all sorts of research on shoestring budget, free editing software. YouTube was free at the time, still is, and found other avenues that I could upload it. And, it was kind of just trial by fire.
Yeah.
One of the things I need to do is listen to my first couple of shows back in 2013, and see how they've morphed now.
Yeah, that would be fun. That would be really cool to see. Did you have any roadblocks getting into this kind of thing? Because I know when I started in the industry, some people just don't really want to talk to you, or they don't have time for you. And then as you get more into it, people start coming to you and asking you questions. And like, did you have any roadblocks getting in?
So yes and no. So I targeted my audience from day one, and still today, is the smaller companies that don't have the budgeting campaigns of the Redcons and the Muscle Techs. So for me, it was a little bit easier going after the smaller companies, because again, I don't charge anybody for the podcast. And the way they look at it is it's an additional means of marketing for the company.
Yeah.
So, I'd say if I contacted 10 companies, I'd probably be able to get 8 of them to come on the show.
Yeah. I mean, when you contacted me, I was like, oh my God, yeah. Because any exposure is good exposure in my eyes, when you're a small company. As you get larger, I would think somebody like Redcon, anyone that would want to interview them might want to ask them about bad things, because everybody already knows Redcon. There's no point in trying to get even more publicity at that. But hey, did you hear someone tested your product and it only had this amount of product in it? I'd be more afraid as a big company than as a small one. You have nothing to lose.
Yes, and the bigger companies, I've never approached them, but there are some companies once in a while that they want to know my bandwidth. And I've got, when people listen to a show, it could be high hundreds, could be a few thousand.
You actually answered one of my questions.
Okay.
I was going to ask you about how many, viewers do you get? Do you have metrics on that where you can see how many people listen to each podcast and that kind of thing?
To a point, with iTunes, it's difficult because unless you're like in their top 10, there's no real way to know with iTunes, at least to my knowledge, I might be wrong, of how many listeners that I have or how many downloads I have.
Okay. But on YouTube, obviously, that is something you can see, and Stitcher probably has similar metrics.
Yes. With YouTube, though, it's kind of interesting because my numbers are generally the lowest on YouTube when it comes to podcasts.
Okay.
Because I'm a Droid user. So with a Droid phone, okay, I can start listening to anything on YouTube, but as soon as my phone goes to sleep, it cuts it off.
Oh.
So if people want to listen to YouTube on a phone, you basically have to turn off the sleep function, meaning just it doesn't go dark.
Right.
So my numbers are generally higher when it comes to reviews than it comes to on the podcasts.
Okay.
When I talk to different guests and listeners of the show, they tell me, like you said, it's either iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, and there's a couple of other ones out there. That's where the content comes from.
Okay. So what do you want to accomplish with your podcast? Like, is there a goal for you other than just obviously getting more viewers, getting more popular, and discovering new companies, stuff like that? Is there a certain goal you had in mind with the podcast?
When I started, or when I look at it now?
Let's say both. When you started, and then maybe now, what you think?
Yeah, so I don't know if it's changed too much, because when I started this, again, it was more, it was twofold. It was to educate myself on products, because once in a while when I learn about ingredients through the guest, it's great because it's something more for my knowledge.
Yes.
It was a personal thing, but also just to educate people as well. When people go back 7 years ago when I first started, people were educated, but I'd like to think fast forward 7 years later, because of the internet, social media, people are more educated about whether it's supplements, ingredients, usage. There's still people coming up behind that are uneducated, but my goal was to educate myself and educate people. Fast forward now, the only thing that's really changed is when I started the show, I wanted to speak with small companies, regardless if it was prop blend, if it was transparent, whatever it was. 3 years ago, I changed that now guests that come on have to be fully transparent.
Okay.
I know
label-wise?
Label-wise, correct. Because myself now educating myself, I want to know what I'm ingesting. I want to know how much and what it is. And obviously, prop blend does not offer that.
Yes,
we can do
absolutely.
We can do a totally different show about my stance on prop blends, why people use them, why people don't use them. That's a whole other podcast.
I think people are very into the transparent labels now. NutriBio obviously has made that super popular because they're ultra transparent.
Yes.
Literally showing every ingredient down to the amount of sucralose that they have in the product, which is amazing.
Yes.
But when you go to a manufacturer, you can't always ask them to do that. Like you're going to say, hey, I want watermelon candy. And they're not going to tell you how that's made, because that's sometimes their flavor system, and they're not going to give you that information. So, because even when we were doing Hustle Sups, I said, hey, I want to have NutriBio type labels. Well, the manufacturer's like, I can put all the ingredients down, but I'm not going to give you the actual flavorings and the amounts of flavorings that are in there.
Yes.
I said, wow, that's kind of crazy, but that's because they want to protect, their own flavor systems. So
I also think, though, to kind of not combat, but to discuss what you're saying here, I think sometimes the manufacturers really don't know themselves because they're getting it from a third-party vendor.
Could be. I mean, our guy, we could literally tell him anything that we want, and he would do it. But when it came to the flavoring, they have like house flavorings.
Mm-hmm.
And for them to divulge how much of each flavoring is in there would tell everybody else out there how to make that flavor. And they just didn't want that. So
yeah, I agree. But in the same boat, some of those companies, they add that flavor now. If it's successful for you, for you, Jason, let's say your Hustle, your tropical, and again, people that have tried it, it's very heavy on the coconut.
Right.
Okay. But now let's face it, though, if the manufacturer has a new flavor to you, I hate to say it, but I think sooner or later they're gonna go ahead and offer that in their catalog to somebody else.
Oh, there's not even a question. I mean, it's basically like, here's all the flavors we can do. If you want to make one of your own, you could say, give me a little more strawberry, give me a little more of this, and they'll do it. But they're not going to tell you exactly how much they're using.
Yep.
They're just going to change it until you're happy with it, pretty much.
Yes.
So, I mean, to me, flavoring is kind of irrelevant. As long as you could see what the flavoring's made out of, that should be enough for most consumers. But I'd still like to have a fully transparent label like NutriBio, but I think that's why most people don't have that level of transparency.
Yes, but with the flavors, I think it's almost the norm that's the one caveat that people can slide under the proprietary, but everything else should be fully disclosed. At least my opinion.
And no, same here. I totally agree with you. So, is your podcast? There's really not much scripting to it, right? It's pretty much on the fly. I mean, you might have a little bit of few questions here and there, but for the most part, it seems like you just ask people and they respond,
Yes. So since you're peeling back the curtain a little bit, so for guests, yes, they do get, my standard 8-10 questions. And for people that follow the show, you can pick out which those questions are because they're almost pretty much the same. Yeah. But since I think I have the gift of gab, so I just let the conversation dictate. I have one guest that might talk about X, another guest that might talk about Y, and that's kind of where the conversation goes.
Which is why your podcast is so much fun to listen to. So what is your favorite part of this industry? Like, as far as supplements go, what draws you the most to it?
That's a great question. It's interesting, and I'll share this with the listeners, is that, and you're from experience, Jason, 95% of the people that I reach out to that want to come onto the show, I don't share a verbal word with them until the morning of the show. Okay. So I've been very lucky that in the 7 years, I've only had one guest that came on and just bombed, just absolutely bombed.
You mind sharing who it was?
Oh God, I'll have to go back in the archives. The company's not in business anymore.
Okay.
But he was, just to be, it was the nicest guy in the world. But, he had the typical, my script that I send people has not changed in 7 years. It's not changed. And one of the things is to talk about the ingredients a little bit, whether it's to the scientific level or just overview. There's 1,000 milligrams of this, and it's good for pumps. I don't ask for much.
Right.
And he couldn't even identify that.
Oh.
And so he kept saying, well, I'm the business guy, and I've got a formulator, but again, he didn't even really understand what was in his product.
Oh, geez.
So it was a train wreck, and I hate to say it was a train wreck, but I think people enjoyed the train wreck.
Yeah, it's something you can't look away from, even if you don't want to see it.
But I guess I've been very fortunate, again, that I've only had that one blender, but I make the best out of it. Again, the guy was a nice guy. I've never had anybody come on that's stuck up or just, braggadocious. Everybody's just been very humble, down to earth, and I've enjoyed it.
Nice. So you have any pet peeves in the industry other than the aforementioned prop blends? Is there anything that kind of makes you go, ugh, like about the industry as a whole?
No, well, I don't want to say ugh, but I think to a point we're reaching a plateau where we need some new ingredients developed or thought about.
Yes.
There's and I understand that there's proven data behind the citrulline and the betaines and the beta alanines, but 9 out of 10 products that you look at nowadays, they're all the same.
Yeah.
And there might be a quick one or two ingredient differentiation. I threw in Norvaline in mine, or I threw in pink sea salt. So no, mine's not the same. Well, yes, it is. The first 90% of it is.
Yeah.
And as I tell people, I try to educate them is what really sets yourself apart from other brands. Because again, if you walk into a store, and maybe I don't want to paraphrase for you being a store owner, but
sure,
if you flip all the labels around and you see all the same ingredients, what's really going to put your product ahead of it? It's going to come down really to the price point or maybe the flavoring.
Yeah. Well, as a store owner, I honestly put that on the store owner to get those kinds of pre's that are the best of the best. And maybe this one is better for pump, this one has more energy, and then be able to tell the customer that. Most customers that come in, they can't even pronounce half the ingredients.
Yep.
Or let alone know what they do. So to me, that's on the store owner to do his research and get a bunch of different pre's instead of buying ones, like you said, that are cookie cutter. They're all the same. I don't have the most pre's in the area, but I certainly have a very wide variety of them.
And I'll probably say the second, again, peeve is a strong word, but the problem is this industry is so open right now that anybody with, I'm going to low end, say $5,000 can open up a supplement line.
Even less?
Even less. I mean,
yeah.
It's 140, most manufacturers, I understand it's like 144 SKUs.
Yeah.
And I mean, that might be 1,500. I'm just throwing random numbers because I don't know the real pricing.
Sure.
But people think, oh, well, the supplement industry is a billion dollar industry. I can take a piece of it, which is fine.
Sure.
But they don't think about, oh, what's going to make my product different? Oh, what's going to make my labels different? How do well, I've got 5,000 users on my Instagram. Oh, I'm going to sell the heck out of it.
Yeah. And maybe they're right. But as soon as those users get it into their hands and go, what is this junk? Then it's going to blow up in their face and no one's ever going to want to buy anything they make again.
Yes.
So,
yes.
Yeah, it's definitely something that I'm kind of on the same boat as you, and I didn't even know, when I first started the store, and we talked about that last week. I just brought in all the big brands. I thought, oh, this is going to be, easy,
Yep.
and nobody wanted that from a independent store. You go into GNC, expect it,
Yes.
expect all those brands, but and then hopefully they probably only go in there for BOGOs on those brands anyway, and then they'll come to me when they want something that's good.
Yeah. Well, exactly. You're the rarity, more the unique stuff, which hopefully sets you aside from the GNCs that have the Redcons and the Ghosts and all that other stuff.
Absolutely. And our GNC is actually closing. I think they're going to be closing, from what I heard, all the stores in the malls
Okay.
around the United States. So that's the only one we have in the areas at the malls. So that'll be one less place I have to worry about.
Yeah, you got to sneak in and try to put a little business card or a sign somewhere on the window. It says, "Come and visit me down the road."
Good idea. So moving on, what, if you have any, what do you think is your biggest failure as far as what you're doing? Like, do you feel that there is any major failure that you've had?
Yeah, so I would say for people that heard the last show with you, Jason, is I did open a very small store in a gym back in 2014. I figured, there was no local supplement stores. The closest one was a vitamin shop that was like 15 miles away. And I figured it's money. I took the population of the gym, a lot of young kids walking around with their shaker bottles and everything else, and figured I'm just gonna be printing money, But the education of myself, like yourself, you didn't know what to bring in, what not to bring in. So I brought in what I thought were good brands to my knowledge, but also since I had a day job, it was kind of hard sometimes. Like my store was only open like 10 hours a week. And I know that hurt me a little bit.
Definitely.
Because 6 years ago I had little smaller kids, my wife at home. She was okay with me going to open up the store, but I couldn't hire an employee because, again, I had no big revenue. But that was probably one of my biggest failures, is the fact that I was hoping it was going to do well. It didn't, but I tried it. It didn't work out, but I don't have a question in my mind of, well, what if?
Yeah. And as a business owner, even if it's a competitor of mine that closes their doors, I feel some kind of sorrow about it.
Yes.
Like, I have a place right down the street from me, and I never try to steal his business or to pull people away from him. If people say, oh, I went there to get Beverly because I don't carry it.
Okay.
Fine. He's got the best prices on Beverly. If somebody asks me where they can buy Beverly, I send them down there. I would never try to intentionally hurt someone else's business. So for me, as a business owner, I always feel bad when anybody does, has a bad time in business.
Yes. On the counter side, though, I've said this enough on my shows, is that I have the utmost, and this is honest, I have the utmost respect for anybody that opens and tries any business. If it's a success, even more respect. If it's a failure, I don't think anything less of you. I look at you as a risk taker. You tried, and again, you're not going to scratch your head saying, what if, geez, what if,
Yep, no doubt. And to me, business, if you want it to survive, has to be a number one priority in your life. It has to take precedence over just about everything else. I mean, I'm here, 60 hours a week. I always make myself available to anybody that wants to reach out to me on Instagram, Facebook, every medium you could imagine. It goes right to my cell phone, and I answer immediately if possible. But usually within a half hour, if I'm with a customer dealing with something, whatever, I get back to them. And that's what they all say. They're like, wow, that's service. That's something they won't get from GNC or from, different places. So, to me, that's it. But it can definitely affect your home life. When you want to be successful and you're pushing so hard at business, you're not pushing at home as much, doing the things that you should. So it's definitely a double-edged sword, I think, for people. And some people can balance that out perfectly, but some people just, family's more important to them, and the business will fall by the wayside if that's the case.
Yep, exactly.
So who do you feel is the best guest you've ever had on your show? Like your favorite?
Wow, that's so. Do you want me to say you?
No, absolutely not. No,
You know what?
I hope it's not me, because I want to hear about who was.
You know what though, and I hate to be cliche, but that's almost like asking who's your favorite kid. You know, because
True.
and I don't. It's so hard because I've enjoyed every show because I always walk away learning something about the guest, the product, and ingredient. So if I can walk away from a show smarter than when I first started the show, that's a win for me. It's a win-win.
Okay.
But it's so, oh my God. I would probably say, and I hate to say, I hate to, you got me on the spot here. Obviously, I'm kind of caught up. So I don't know if you've seen any of my four-ways that I've had with other business owners on it once. So last year I did a show with Eddie from Muscle Players, Nick from Rage Nutrition, Supplement Snoop Justin, and Mark from Iron Brothers.
Yes.
We were just hoping to get on. That turned into a 2.5-hour podcast because there was nothing. It was just like throw anything against the wall.
Yeah.
And then I did another one a month or two later, again with Nick from Rage Nutrition, Justin from Supplement Snoop, and Rob from a company called Apollo Nutrition.
Okay, yep, I listened to that one not too long ago.
And it was the same thing. We were just figuring, okay, guys, we'll spend an hour. It was a Sunday afternoon, and we all figured, okay, I got to go do this. Rob had to go do that. And I looked at the clock. It was 2.5 hours later. And I'm like, guys, we need to wrap this up because we need to take care of our wives, our kids, whatever. And I had to break that down into like 3 shows.
That's so cool, though. You know, that I know exactly what you're talking about. One of the best ones. It was my favorite, actually.
There was no filters. There was no filters at all.
No.
You know, and that's what I love. But you know, I guess it's gratifying to see shows that I interviewed back in 2013 and looking now 7 years later. There's some that have closed shop. There's some that are still doing well, and there's some that actually blown up. Like one of my first guests was a company called EVL Nutrition.
Okay.
Started by a BMX bicyclist.
Wow.
An X Games bicyclist, and people were like, you know, is this guy just sharing his name to a company? But fast forward now, he's a huge brand. He's a very huge brand, super nice guy. You know, and with some guests, it's interesting. Some guests I have relationships with still 5 years later, and some guests, unfortunately, it's a one and done. And it's part of the business. It's not the guest's fault. It's not my fault. It was, you know, we chatted, had a good time, and we just kind of went separate ways.
Absolutely. I could imagine that being that way. I mean, when we first talked, I figured it would be a one and done just because you would be busy with other things. And, you know, then when I said, hey, maybe we'll come back again, and then you're like, oh, not possibly, definitely. And
yeah.
I was like, okay, this guy's down to do some things and to get this going. And I'm like, I'll take every advantage I can, you know, why not? You know, like it's cool. So I like talking, obviously, I'm so long-winded, but yeah, it's, I love the show. I want to try and help you even get more viewers. You know, I got, that's why I asked for your logo so we could put it on the front of Hustle Sup saying, hey, see, you know, listen to us on SuppTalk Radio.
Yep.
Maybe get you some viewers as well, which is always nice, you know.
I appreciate that.
No, for sure. Top 5 supplement companies in your eyes.
Wow. Again, you're asking me. Wow. Again, going back to asking my favorite kids, you know. So so again, I'm an open book, transparent here. Some companies that I have on the show, I don't have a chance to try their products. Sometimes I buy them. Sometimes companies are nice enough to send them to me. Okay. And I give them the, you know, the benefit of the doubt. There's other companies that do send me products. So obviously my allegiance is a little bit strong.
Kind of like Hustle Sups.
Okay. All right. So you had to get in there. The self-promotion, I get it. I get it. So there's some companies that have sent me stuff, and I've been honest and said, listen, it's not good for XYZ, but there's other companies that I keep in touch with. You know, very, very, people I'd consider brethren, okay? Like, there's a company called Iron Brother Supplements that I consider Mark a true brother of mine. I mean, not literally because of the name, but he's someone I speak with daily. I mean, he's sharing information, I'm sharing information, trying to help him grow his company as well.
Nice.
Um,
So is that number one, or are you counting?
No, I'm going to say US for top 5 or top 10?
Top 5.
Okay, so no, I'm not going to put a number on it. I'll just, okay. And this is not, Jason, this is not because you're a 2-time guest on my show, but you were nice enough to send me Drive, and I really like it. I'm not just saying that. I was genuine in my review earlier this week. I really do like it. I've used it every day this week.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, and I'm being honest. You know, people that have not seen the review, one of the big promotions that I like of your product is there's not a lot of this generic ingredients that we see that I've spoken about earlier. You know, the citrulines, the betaines, there's some other cool stuff in your product, what I appreciate.
Nice.
You know, I've not had a chance to test drive your Torrid as of yet. I've done it one capsule afternoon as a pick-me-up, but that's on my list. Okay. So if Torrid is anything like Drive, you definitely have a lifelong customer. Definitely on one of my tops. And that, and folks listening to this is the God's honest truth. I'm not stroking Jason's ego. Just it's a good product.
No, I actually totally did not expect you to say anything about Hustle Supplements, to be honest with you, because there's so many, good supplement companies out there, and I'm sure you've tried so many of them. But
yes,
that's awesome. Thank you so much for that.
So I would say Iron Brothers, yourself, another company called Glaxon is very good.
Yep.
You know, Glaxon is doing it smart because they've got great products, very similar to you. Some common ingredients, a lot of uncommon ingredients.
Yep.
Their flavors are down pat. They're unique ones, but like for instance, they have a greens formula. Most greens formula are very earthy. I don't know if you're a greens formula person, Jason, but they're very earthy.
Yep.
But they've got a greens formula. It's dynamite, absolutely dynamite.
Nice.
You know, and they also from the marketing standpoint, if you don't know who they are, I'd suggest you follow them on Instagram because they've got cartoons and just all sorts of cool stuff.
Glaxon?
Yes, Glaxon.
Okay. Yeah, I actually do follow them, and that was one of the companies that I wanted to model after as well. Love their style. I love the ingredients that they're using.
Yes.
And yeah, it's definitely one of the companies I was watching. Alpha Lion, those guys, I Am Glaxon, Axe and Sledge, I really like a lot. And they're not as risk takers as much as I Am Glaxon is, but I like those kinds of companies. They have style, they have good formulas, and they're putting something new on the table.
Yeah, so they're smart because one of the problems I see with companies, and it's not a problem, is great product, but they don't know how to market it.
Yeah.
And that hurts a little bit. And I'm not vilifying those companies. You know, it's kind of hard to be marketing person, but also formulator or salesperson, and it's kind of hard to find that mix.
Yeah. So
Glaxon is playing it smart. They've got both down. Okay. Another company that I absolutely love is on the protein side, a company called Obvi Nutrition. They're actually Obvi. I'm sorry. Let me take back nutrition. They built a brand on a collagen product. But with them, the collagen is flavored, and the flavors are spot on.
You had a podcast about that with them on, and I had listened to it. Yep.
Yes, Ron, a great guy. He is well with his team. They are able to match that marketing and the sales and the awesome product together as well. So they've got that down. Okay. So I think that's 4. Wow, saying a 5 is hard because I'm trying to think what I'm using right now. I'd probably say that 4, and maybe by the end of this podcast, I'll be able to think of a 5th.
All right. Do you have any funny or funniest story about someone you had on the podcast or starting the podcast, anything that you could share that you think is just the funniest time you've had or funniest individual?
I'm probably going to have to reference back the 4-way interviews that I had with those guys. if you want somebody to follow as well on YouTube, I don't know if you're a YouTube guy, Jason, Muscle Players, Eddie at Muscle Players.
The number one funniest.
Yeah.
I love that guy. I don't even know his name, but every time I see him, I'm like, he's The Rock.
His name is Eddie, and that's not an act. That is him to a T.
Awesome.
He's just you look at him at first and you think, God, this guy's on pre-workouts and crack or meth or something.
I'd go with cocaine for sure.
He's just high on life and high on pre-workouts. But what you see is what you get with Eddie.
Yeah, I like him a lot. He is a character. Love his stuff, and I can't imagine anybody not liking his attitude and how crazy he can get. Yes.
He goes to the dollar store, once a week or before the virus. He'll go out and spend $30 on props, from the dollar store, and that's why you see with his wigs and his glasses and that's him. I
love the guy. Super hilarious. I keep meaning to send him and reach out to him and send him some drive to see what he thinks of it.
I can connect you guys. Remind me later on. I'll connect you guys.
Okay. Awesome. So, what is your biggest accomplishment so far that you are proud of with your podcast? Like, what do you feel like a sense of pride with it as far as where you've come to?
I get just going back to just meeting so many great people. I wish I could say that I could physically shake everybody's hand or sit down and have a workout with them, sit down and have a meal with them, and I can't. So, but 2 years ago, I was able to go to the Arnold Classic, and I actually met some of these people that I've interacted with. So it was just very humbling. One of my guests that's a personal friend of mine now is a gentleman by the name of Bill from a company called Spice Beast. He does herbs and rubs for food prep.
Nice.
And he reached out to me and said, Sean, come run the booth with me at the Arnold 2 years ago. So I sat there with him, met his family, had dinner. I met Ryan from Fitness Informant, super nice guy. Matt from 5 Minute Sup Reviews came by the booth. We chopped it up for a little bit. That's what I'm happy about, that I've made a lot of friends, but also regret that I can't meet everybody.
I gotcha.
But yeah, I know I'm kind of giving you both sides of the coin a little bit.
No, hey, it's a question. You answer it how you'd like it to be answered.
That's right. It's your show.
Well, I'm new at this, so.
You're doing a great job, my man.
Thank you. I am actually out of questions. That was all I had for you today. Do you have anything else you'd like to add for your viewers? Anything else you'd like to tell them? About yourself, or anything that maybe you thought I should have asked?
No, I mean, Jason, you've done a great job. As always, 7 years later, I've got some of the same listeners from day one, which is very humbling. Some have fallen off, but I'd say fast forward now, I've made a lot more friends because of social media outlets, and I appreciate every single one of you all. And as always, if there's anyone you'd like to see on the show, please reach out to me on Instagram or my Facebook post, Facebook page, whatever it is. But again, I enjoy this. I do have a day job, as mentioned. I wish I could do more shows more often. But again, I love the people that I meet, people like yourself, Jason, other people that I've mentioned. But again, thank you to everybody for listening, downloading, interacting with me. And, when this virus is over, hopefully I'll be able to meet more of you all.
Do you want to tell anybody about how they could listen to the podcast and all the different forms they could listen to it on?
Thank you. Wow, that's my line. So I'm on YouTube under SuppTalk Radio. I'm also on iTunes. I'm on Spotify. I'm on Stitcher, SoundCloud, and there's probably some little independent ones that I'm not aware of as well. When they do have shows, they generally drop every Monday morning. But I would suggest subscribing to any of those avenues so that when there's a new show live, you get that automatic notification that, hey, there's something waiting for you to listen.
All right. Well, that'll be all for SuppTalk Radio. My name is Jason from Hustle Supplements and Arena Supplements. Our guest today was Sean Shantz from SuppTalk. Hope you enjoyed.
Jason, and once again, I know they did this to you last week. You do have a small store. Give people the address, the name, the website.
It's 519 Scott Street, Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. It's arenasupplements.com or hustlesups.com. We carry Hustle Subs on both, so you can get it either way.
And obviously, you're doing curbside pickup like everybody else right now.
Curbside pickup, and of course we ship, and it's free shipping for the most part of anything. Just call us; we'll work around whatever you need.
Perfect, Jason. Thank you, my man. Again, it's been humbling. Let's put it that way.
Well, you were an awesome guest. I had a fun time.
Cool. Hey, I'll talk to you soon.
All right, thank you. Take care.